Hi, everybody. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your background paper. We can go over it in class as well, but just to review, you're submitting two documents. One is your reference list, one is your outline. So again, this is a background content paper, but you're not submitting anything written in an essay format, it's an outline. Your reference list is an APA format, and it should have a minimum of 3 strong, relevant references that are peer-reviewed or professional websites. You can have a maximum of 12. Those of you who have had me know that more is not necessarily better. You do not get more points because you have more references. You get your reference points because they're strong references. So your outline should include major headings and topics that would be appropriate for your paper, which everyone is doing the same thing this semester, which is a COVID-19 campaign. The headings or topics would be things like information on COVID-19, information on the different COVID vaccinations, information on why people are hesitant to get vaccinated, information about your population, probably only national information because you don't have local information for the most part, but you might because some of you have groups where you could attain that. So those are the kind of headings that will be in your outline. The key issue here is that you are covering material in your outline that is comparable to what you would write in a 400 level class. So if you were writing a paper on COVID vaccine and COVID vaccine campaigns, what would be included in your paper? When you do an outline, the outline represents all of the research you've conducted, not just the research you're going to use for your presentation. The reason we do an outline instead of a paper is because this is designed to mirror real life. When you are at internship or you are at real jobs in health education, it will be very normal for your supervisor to ask you for an outline of your research to date. And what they're asking is to see if you've conducted enough research to handle what they've asked you to do. And that's what this is. This is asking you to demonstrate what you have done so far, what you have researched about these topics that you're going to be presenting. Remember, you represent an organization at your internship, and at this point, you're representing Towson University. So what you present has to be appropriate. It has to be correct. It has to be accurate. So this is what you're doing. You're not doing it like that you're doing a college level presentation, elementary, middle school. It doesn't matter what your population is. Your information in this outline must be the information you would use to write a 400 level paper. There's a sample provided at the end that shows you the kind of outline that you should have. You should have in-text citations from the reference list. I'm not grading you on your outline format. I don't care if you use Roman numerals, then capital letters, then regular numerals, then small letters, then double. I don't care about that. I care that it's set up so it looks like an outline. It has information that it needs to have, and it's grammatically correct. Just because something is in an outline, it is not full sentences, and it is not a paragraph. You still have to have grammatically correct information. You still have to have noun-verb agreement. You still should not have tense differentiation where past tense, present tense. You probably are not going to be speaking in future tense. So those are the kind of things, just common grammatical issues. This is a really important issue for you guys. It says you can work in groups of 2 or 3. Sometimes people do this because they think it's easier, and in reality, working in a group is often more difficult. If you choose to work in a group, I highly recommend you go to the announcements page in your Blackboard page and watch read over the steps that you should take in a group. In a group project, you cannot divide the work, throw it together, and submit it and receive a good grade. You can divide the work, but it has to come back and be reviewed. Then it goes back to individuals to be rewritten or revised. Then it comes back to the group, and then somebody has to make sure it reads like one paper, not 3 separate items written by 3 separate people. So there are steps involved in making a group work. So if you choose to do that, please go over the steps that are critical to group work. The next thing about group work is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, because if you work in a group, there's another form you have to fill out. If you work in a group of 3 and it's clear that one person did not do enough work, that person will receive a different grade. If you're in a group of 3 and one person has done way more work than the other 2, that person will receive a different grade. One of the reasons you evaluate each other and you list what each person is responsible for is so that I can see if there's disparity in work. I never, ever want you to work in a group and have somebody not do any work or have somebody do all of the work. That's not group work. So if you're assigned part 1 and part 2 and 3 are not very good, you submit what you have. If there's a huge disparity in the level of work, the grades will be different for each person. So please keep that in mind. So if you work alone, you are only going to submit these 2 documents, the outline and the reference list. If you work in groups of 3, you're going to do this slightly differently. One person submits the assignment. So one person submits the 2 documents, the outline and the reference. But everyone in the group submits a peer review form. If you don't submit a peer review form, you will not receive a grade until you do. So the peer review form I have open, we'll look at it at the end. I think I have it open. If not, it's a very simple form to fill out. I believe it's at the bottom of the scoring rubric. So here's the scoring rubric. I like to point this out to you because some people see this as punitive and I see it as a gift. If you follow directions, you have your AP list correctly formatted. Highlight that. If you follow directions, you have the right number of great sources and it's in the correct format. You'll receive 8 points just by doing that. If you have no spelling and grammar errors and your in-text citations are correct, you'll receive 9 more points. So just for doing the assignment correctly, without spelling or grammar errors, APA format's correct, you will have 17 of the 30 points. Your entire outline could be wrong, but if you do these things correctly, it's 17 points. I'm giving you 17 points. These are items that no one at your level should lose points on. The rest of the points here are based on your outline. Okay? So that's how you get your points. And now we'll look at, this is a sample outline. It's not perfect, but it's above average. It needs, when I'm reading your outline, it needs to be specific enough that I know that you understand it. Communicable person to person. If I just had communicable here and no description, that would not tell me that you know anything. So make sure whatever you put in your outline indicates your level of knowledge. Okay. And let me see. This is the scoring rubric for your peers. So this at the top, right here, let me enable this. These two items that are highlighted in this different color, this is an example of what your paper should look like when you submit it. The name of the person who was supposed to do this and the grade that person should get. The name of the person who did this and the name and the grade that person should get. The only people who see this, the only person who sees this is me. So if I have a question about the quality of one section of your paper, I can try to figure out what happened. But these are the different areas: how to conduct a needs assessment correctly, how we conducted our needs assessment. And there's another section of your paper, and these are other items that you should consider filling in. If there's something that you did as a group not on this list, like who researched the topics, this bottom part is about the background paper. Who researched each of the topics that's in the outline? Who did APA formatting? Who did spelling and grammar? Who did proofing? Who did submission? If every one of these says everyone, then and it's a mediocre, part of it's mediocre, you will all get a mediocre or less grade. So it's really important to try to identify who was responsible. So maybe 2 of 3 of you did APA formatting, maybe only 1 of you did spelling and grammar check. Just remember to be as specific as possible when you turn this in. So to review very quickly, if you work by yourself, you're submitting 2 documents. One is your reference list, one is your outline. If you're working in groups of 2 or 3, you're going to submit, one person will submit these 2 documents, and everyone in the group will submit this other document, which is a peer review. If you have any questions, make sure you ask. I look forward to seeing you in class this week.